Hi, I'm Captain Mike, and this is number 4 in the 4-part series on different types of soap, history of soap, and finally what we can do with the various types of soap. I'll make this as brief as I can, and I'll end it with a couple of experiments to kind of bring it all together. These are bars of cold process soap that I make, and they have, if you will, embeds, for lack of a better term for it. I mix up the soap just like I normally would, and then I either mix in these noodles or shreds. And the shreds come from either using this off of the edges of my soap bars. See how nice and neat they are. I trim every bar, or I run them through a machine, kind of a vegetable grinder. It does the same thing. It has different heads on it, like this, and you can make different types of embeds. This, of course, the noodles are made with a meat grinder, and I've showed you all that. I think I did a video on how to make these noodles. Pretty sure I did anyway. So that's what you can do with a cold process soap. Now, you can also add them to melt and pour soap. They won't melt. These won't melt like melt and pour. So when you have the liquid soap like this, and you put embeds in it and stir it up after it's melted, they kind of give it a texture. Now, these are all floating on the top, but if you add enough of these, they will pack down and they'll go all the way to the bottom, and they make a really nice, interesting bar of soap. That one has kind of a bee motif, which kind of goes along with the sort of semi-clear soap. And of course, I showed you this one earlier. It's just a mold. This is one of the great things you can do with melt and pour soap, is you can mold it all kinds of ways. Now, why am I going to have a hard time getting that off? Always something, isn't it? Always something. Okay. And it comes, it's just made a nice one. This is melt and pour soap that I made myself. As is this. I made that myself also. And then some of the other things you can do is you can take cupcake holders. I have some silicone cupcake molds, and you can either use melt and pour, or you can use cold process soap and pour it in there and stick little duckies and first one thing and another. I've made a lot of these for birthday parties. Okay, we're back with these, and boy is it interesting. This is the ivory soap. This is about 35 seconds. And if I hadn't checked it, it'd have really been a mess. Nothing had happened to these three. In 35 seconds, this ivory went wacko. Don't know why. I wanted to guess, I'd say it's air in it. But that's the ivory under heat in a microwave. Now, mind you, a microwave oven is not the best way to melt anything, soap or wax, either one. I just use one, and you have to pay close attention to it. And you get a lot of bubble and a lot of residue. A double boiler is the way to go. With that said, just to keep the experiment on the same level, this one is about 30 seconds. This is the Irish Spring, and it had started to bubble up and do strange and weird things after 1 minute. Now, none of this is melting, it's just bubbling. Okay, it's not like melt and pour. This one is kind of what I thought. This is your hot process, and it is melting to some degree, but not really. As you can see there, maybe some of the oils are working out of it. It is beginning to foam just a little. There is definitely a change in the hot process soap. Now, the cold process soap, none whatsoever. It won't do anything. It started to get a little hot on the bottom, but there's no foaming, there's nothing. It will get soft, but I can't never get cold process soap to actually melt. So that's what you get. That is the soaps and pretty much what they'll do. And of course, we already know what melt and pour will do, so I didn't include that in the experiment. Now, as a ending to this video, it wouldn't be right if I didn't try to make an experiment about a statement that I made once upon a time, and I think some people took offense to it, and that's fine. My experiments are not the most scientific in the world, but I do try to keep them on the same level. I made the statement one time that one of the disadvantages to melt and pour soap was it dissolved in water quicker than cold processed soap. In my experience, it had always been that cold processed soap would form a film, but it would dry out rather rapidly and maintain its shape. And my experience with hot processed soap had been that if you left it in the water too long, as my grandchildren would do sometimes, it would just turn to a mush and you just throw it out. Also, this hot, melt and pour soap would, if you took it to arts and crafts show in one of these molds right here, and the temperature got up to 80 or 90 degrees in the direct sunlight, yeah, it would just actually run out of the mold. I had a customer come tell me one time, hey, you got soap over here that's running out all over the place. And I didn't know what she's talking about. So I went around and looked, and I had all these hanging up by this neat little holders right here. Really nice presentation. And it had just melted out and run all over the place. So that's not what we're experimenting with here. What we're experimenting with is these two soap bars. They've both been in this water over 24 hours. So let's just kind of see. I'm going to make a mess here. That's going to conclude this video. Okay, let's just go ahead and pour the water out first, okay? All right, this is interesting. Probably going to have to eat my words here. This bar of soap, although there is all kinds of a gelatinous mass in the bottom, is that a word, gelatinous? And I may not be able to get it. It's relatively, it's gooey. That's what I had seen before. This is a larger bar of soap than my grandkids had. And it is turning into, whoops, can't see it, can you? Let me get over here. It's kind of gooey, and it's got this stuff on it. And it, you know, the stuff in here is kind of like liquid soap. Okay, let's see what the cold processed soap does. All right, now it also has formed a gelatinous mass, and it's soft down to about 1/4 of an inch. Then the inside is harder than this, but there's not a lot of difference. You see the gelatinous soapy liquid soap mess in there? So I'm going to say, I will retract my words, into whoever, if the same person happens to look at this, or whoever, I'll eat my words. There's not a lot of difference in the melt and pour soap sitting in the water and the cold processed soap sitting in the water, and I would go ahead and make the assumption that hot processed soap would be no better sitting in the water. So the bottom line there is, don't leave your soap sitting in the water. Make your kids and your grandkids or whoever take the soap bar out when they're through and place it on the soap bar place on your tub or shower, and it'll dry back out. So this is a yucky mess. So that's it. That's all the experiments, suggestions for using melt and pour soap, hot processed soap, cold processed soap, the different things that you can do, just kind of in a little capsule. If you've got more ideas, hey, throw them at me. I probably will be aware of what some of them are and just didn't touch on them due to lack of time. But if you have suggestions, or you have more questions about this particular video or any of the other 3 that we had before this, let me know. Be adult and don't make me feel too bad, and I'll be adult and we'll discuss this, and hopefully we can all learn from each other. This has been a tough go, and it's taken a lot longer to do all this than it's going to show up on video, because there was a lot of stuff I had to do ahead of time to get it ready to film. So there we go. That's it. I hope y'all learned something. I hope this has been an informative set of videos, and we'll call it done. I'm Captain Mike, and I'm out of here.